Finally, we get to see the ADC pool, the bot lane pool being opened up so much more just of these two resident sleeper ADCs being taken off the board. Like the Varus and Caitlyn, I would love to see a Varus or even the Ashe, which can be a flex pick for either the ADC or the support. And paired with that Varus, and you said that Sivir is a very standard pick when Yuumi is available, but I think specifically into Ashe and Varus, they just have so much range on you. You're pretty much just relegated to that utility role.
Yeah. The Varus is going to be taken away by NIP to deny exactly that combo that you're talking about. It's too oppressive. Meiko could still go towards like a Heimerdinger alongside the Ashe, or maybe the Ashe ends up in the support role. We'll have to wait and see. But junglers available, both Vi and Sejuani still on the board. Maokai obviously banned away, but Elise actually making it through, and Xiaolongbao goes aggressive.
I love this Elise pick from Xiaolongbao. Something that we were missing from game 2 was Xiaolongbao be extremely proactive. That we did see a bit from the first game on his Sejuani. Now that Sejuani is still up and available, I'm expecting EDG to either pick it or just leave it to the dust. I do like Sejuani a lot as a champion because I think just that potential of the level 3 1v1 is so valuable. But of course, EDG is going to take that. But back onto this Elise. We are going to see so many dives from the side of NIP, especially when you have this Varus in your pocket and he has that range onto the enemy carry, where I believe only the Caitlyn will do relatively well. But once you've been poked out, the Elise is just going to dive you on repeat.
Definitely could be the case. We could see even like a Jin maybe often locked in just to be able to clear waves, but it does take a while before you have that wave clear that's particularly strong. We'll have to see. Jayce locked in for Ala, and Pau might go for the opposite side of the matchup this time. Do we get to see a game where Pau isn't just playing Sylas? I certainly hope so.
We have seen the victor coming out of Pau in that series up against top esports. He did relatively good, and that is the Akali locked in for Pau. Of course, trying to deny this Akali pick from FoFo having extremely good performance in that game too. But I don't know how Pau's going to do on this Akali just quite yet. We haven't seen it.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Certainly seems like a melee mid kind of guy though, based on the Sylas preference. We're going with the Akali this time. I'm curious if NIP will ban away the Sylas. Obviously going for the Azir ban there away from FoFo, assuming that this Jayce is going up top for Ala. You could ban the Sylas away, as that's clearly the choice of counter that Pau takes into the Akali.
Yeah, I mean, Jayce still remains as a very viable flex for the side of EDG, so it just depends on which matchup is better for this Jayce. But of course, FoFo on this Azir has been banned out. That is one of his most played champions alongside the Akali, so I'm not too surprised there. EDG is going to ban out the top lane pool, however, because I think Ala, when he does get that winning matchup, he is able to just dominate the game on his carry champions.
Yeah. I feel that's true for both of these top laners. If they can get the champion, if they can get the matchup, they can take over. The Jin getting banned away here. So Caitlyn would be available if they want to go for something like that alongside the Ashe. I mean, Sivir still open as well, but whether or not you want to go for that into a Varus, we'll have to wait and see. But solo lane ban so far from EDG could try and do the same again. Try and set up for a really good matchup for Ala.
I mean, Sivir is a very viable pick into Varus. I just don't think it has the same oppressiveness and similar damage output compared to Varus. But you already have the Jayce and Ashe locked in. You're not lacking damage on the side of EDG, especially with what FoFo might lock in for this mid lane. And he has been performing pretty well from his game 2 showing. So I'm not going to be surprised if Sivir does get locked in here. Kaisa? Are you sure?
I would love to see it. I would absolutely love to see it. High mechanical ADC alongside Meiko's Ashe. It's locked in. And hey, they have mega long range kill threat, right? The Ashe arrow lands, Jayce shock blast, Leave flies in to finish the kill off. I can see the magic. It's just whether or not you can survive the laning phase.
I mean, classic LPL, once everything else has been banned out, just default back onto Kaisa, and that has been the staple of this league. But of course, the Kennen is going to be locked in last for EDG, and Invincible is going to really just have a free time trying to get a counter into this Kennen, but EDG, their composition is looking extremely squishy with only the Sejuani being the front line, and of course just the amount of CC or pure CC that EDG has with this composition, it's looking very 5v5 heavy.
Yeah, honestly, I'm excited. This is a wacky draft that we've got for ourselves. Heimerdinger Varus versus Kaisa Ashe. We've got an Elise in the jungle. We've got Akali versus Jayce mid, a Gangplank versus Kennen top. Like, this is not your usual draft. This is not the draft that we get to see all the time. So I'm excited to see how on earth these solo lanes are going to pan out. How on earth Jiejie and Xiaolongbao will play out this early game to get their lanes ahead. If on the other side, an LDL superstar coming into the LPL, trying to prove himself, looking fantastic on the Zeri, having some good games, now brings out a Kaisa. I'm here for it.
We're gonna get a straight up 5v5 brawl at this level 1. Is anything gonna happen with these Heimerdinger turrets going down?
Photic trying to look juicy there, baiting the enemy team in. It's literally a Rambit in the bottom lane here. Meiko taking a big chunk of damage. And that's it. What a bizarre start to the game.
I mean, that's just how you have to play up against the Heimerdinger support. You have to get rid of these turrets going into the bush to prevent the enemy bot lane from getting that bot lane priority, which can just open up the map for Xiaolongbao. So I really respect the full-on brawl of a 5v5. Ala is going to get a cheeky ward to see where Xiaolongbao is going to start. It does look like a red buff start for him. And Sejuani also relatively... you know, doing okay with a solo start himself. I just feel like when it does come to this jungle matchup, so NIP is on a ticking time bomb because they don't have a front line for these team fights.
No, they certainly don't. Does feel like this could be quite a volatile game. Leaves starting very aggressively. Takes a bit of damage for his trouble though. I'm not sure it was as positive as a trade as he wanted, but Meiko with the Hail of Blades evens things up. The Heimer turrets now starting to come down from Zhuo. Like you said though, clearing them earlier on certainly helps EDG with presence in this bottom side. They will have priority by the looks of things.
I'm really excited to see how Leave pilots this Kaisa in a lane that's so poke heavy from the side of NIP, because your range is extremely small, and when it does come to these 2v2 trades, you're kind of just praying that Meiko does most of the trading for you and tries to bully them out of lane, because you don't really spike until you hit that Kraken Slayer and you find those individual picks onto the carries of NIP.
Yeah, I love this start from EDG here, just completely removing Zhuo from the game. If you can kill the turrets, Heimerdinger doesn't really exist at level 1, so managing to find that level 2 spike and completely zoning Zhuo and Photic. Photic actually hitting level 2 before Zhuo, so he must have missed a little bit of XP. Is Jiejie moving into the lane here? Leave trying to look juicy. Meiko going forwards here. Good little stun onto Photic. An easy first blood, setting up this Kaisa from Leave. So close to proccing onto the Heimerdinger as well. Fantastic start here from EDG.
What a shame for NIP. Xiaolongbao was just 20 seconds too late to the play, and that is first blood going towards Leave. And you do not want an aggressive ADC on an aggressive champion to be picking up these kills, because this Varus is just going to get constantly ganked without that flash available.
Xiaolongbao wants to do something in the bottom side here. Whether he can find Leave or not is a different question. As the cocoon lands, look at that cleanse. Instant cleanse from Leave.
I mean, he got the wave in, and all he had to do was to burn that cleanse, so it's not too bad. He did get spotted on the ward previously from the mid laner of EDG, so that was a really sneaky ward, and Leave knew that the Elise was onto him.
Yeah, definitely. Able to manage to make that happen. Now to the bottom side. Xiaolongbao wants to try again. Meiko dropping a ward, won't spot out Xiaolongbao. Perhaps Meiko could be the target. Draws here, the sweeper lets him know. And will back away. Just going to be able to get a little bit of gold as he is that support using the spot item. And Xiaolongbao punished for the play. Slowed down in his jungle pathing and doesn't get anything for it.
I feel like Xiaolongbao is the type of person, just try again. You don't have any summoners on Leave. Jiejie hasn't sensed you just quite yet. It just looks like constant chaos in this bot lane and flipping until one side just completely takes over the game.
Right now, it's feeling like EDG are the side that will take over the game. Already having the kill onto Leave, having a serrated Dirk in that bottom side at this point. But the wave means that EDG can't really 2v2 right now. They've got to clear some more minions before that'll be on the cards. It's FoFo trying to crash this wave in the mid lane as well. This feels like a tense early game.
It does feel very tense. I mean, to be fair, it is the game that decides which team gets to win the series. So a lot of aggression coming out of both junglers in this final game. Exactly what we want to see. But of course, this Elise hasn't found any success from her gank so far. And that's really hurting the side of NIP because a little bit of a thumbs up because he has been spotted by Ashe. Very annoying ability that Ashe has. But if this Elise doesn't start getting these kills online onto these carries very soon, I'm afraid she's going to expire.
That is not a good look for NIP as Xiaolongbao tries to clear the ward, but Jiejie is here once again. Repel comes up, but now jumping onto the backline here. Meiko flashes away. Xiaolongbao low on HP.
Photic?
So is Photic. Leave literally 1v1ing the enemy AD carry, and it's a wash in favor of EDG.
There's just two fights happening in this bottom 3v3. I believe Photic just got left alone in a duel up against Kaisa, and that's exactly what she wants. With the serrated Dirk in her pockets, she just ordered him to death. And with the cleanse, you can't really do anything in a 1v1 scenario. And of course, Xiaolongbao got caught out earlier into the fight, and there's just not much synergy in this game from Zhuo and from Xiaolongbao as well. Taking a look at the replay, Xiaolongbao does get spotted onto this ward where he gets instantly engaged on. And Halo Blade's being kind of cringe in this current meta, just tossing out so much damage. Very good flash out of Meiko, dodging the CC from NIP. And of course, Photic just falls when he gets left behind.
Yeah, nice little dodge from Photic on the W from Leave, but so far behind that it really doesn't matter. And the ISO Q doing massive damage to him. So really good little play from Leave to find the 1v1. Great little bit of fighting from EDG to punish Xiaolongbao once again. Now CS leads are starting to build up. There's a massive wave there for Leave. You can see FoFo is ahead in the mid lane as well. Jiejie getting massively ahead in the jungle thanks to the 2 kills he's picked up. Xiaolongbao still really wants to fight him, but he's a level down.
Yeah, I'm just afraid that with Leaf picking up all these kills, already have the Noon Quiver and Serrated Dirk in his item slots, he's just going to get a very early upgrade onto that Q, and that just means a terrible time for the immobile champions of NIP.
It's just a 3v3 bot lane. That's what this game has become. Meiko and Leaf trying to push off forward. Stun comes out, but it misses onto Meiko. As here comes Xiaolongbao. Repel in. Meiko down. Finally, a fight for NIP. The cannons from Invincible turning the tide.
Finally, something going great for the side of NIP. They noted down that Meiko burnt that flash earlier, and they capitalized on this opportunity, especially with the Gangplank having that ultimate available. He just chucked it bot lane and prayed to the gods that Meiko falls down. Exactly, that does happen, but it does go towards Zhuo as the Heimerdinger support. And, you know, of course you do want items on this support, but I just feel like you really should have given it to the Varus, who could have just at least had a better time against this Kaisa.
Oh, he's level 6!
Oh no!
Lee finds Zhuo in the bottom lane. The perfect moment right after the recall of Photic. Oh, it's going from bad to worse. Even after that positive play, NIP still picked apart by Leave.
Leave just gets a cheeky level up from that minion wave, and Zhuo did not react, and that is exactly what we want to see from this Kaisa. Just getting those individual solo kills with her ultimate. Once the W connects, you just fly over and get the job done. With the Kaisa being 3-0 now, I just don't see how Photic is gonna be able to challenge her unless Pal really focuses her down in these team fights.
It's going to be tough. FoFo trying to push out in this mid lane as Meiko moves on through, looking towards this Herald in the top side, setting up for Jiejie to be able to just grab that objective by himself. Zhuo, in the meantime, still in the bottom side in that river. So Photic and Zhuo should just have complete priority in the bottom side, but there's not really a lot they can do with that.
It just looks like that ADG is taking over this early game. Leaf honestly can just 1v2 once he has that cleanse up and available. If NIP plays it, and NIP, I'm so sorry, if NIP plays it smart, then they have to engage during this time frame.
Good little dodge from Pal. Needs to use that Shroud if he's got it available. Might be on cooldown. Perfect execution. just to get himself out of the play. Leave barely dodging, repelled upon, taken down. Photic goes down to Meiko. In the meantime, a great cocoon though, and the Heimer turret to finish it off. No, double kill for Xiaolongbao. Jiejie spotted on the re-engage, and again the bottom lane turned in favor of NIP.
That's exactly what we want to see from Photic's Varus. Pull the trigger on that ultimate, chuck it onto Lee while he doesn't have that cleanse available, and get the dive well executed from Xiaolongbao. And Lee gives over the shutdown to Elise, and that does bring her back into the game and to get those items online for this up-and-coming dragon.
Ala starting to really get the best of this top lane matchup as well, and this Kennen was really one of the champions that Ala made a name for himself on the international stage with. As I mean, Leaf just gets annihilated from a distance. Not a lot he can do about that one. Has to flash. And then you see the emote come up, the recall, while Xiaolongbao lands on him.
I mean, Meiko tries for his dear life to try and trade for a 2-for-2, but unfortunately the Elise was just full damage and got to kill the Ashe off as a straggler. Of course, the Elise is going to try and look to start this dragon. Like I said, early dragon is going to be the win con for NIP. You have to look for those early objectives while the Elise is still strong before you start opting into those 5v5 team fights.
Oh, FoFo needs to be cautious. Flashes the cocoon, will survive. Like you say, NIP really would like to go for these early dragons, but Jiejie not going to let that happen. Herald in pocket as well if he needs to force priority in one of the lanes. And I feel like we saw this in game number 1 as well. NIP had complete control on the bottom side. Weren't willing to... Oh, close one for Photic. Nice little sidestep. But they weren't willing to go for the early Drakes last time around. It doesn't feel like they're able to go for these Drakes just yet this game.
My eyes just can't stop staring at Jiejie already having the Radiant Virtue on and available for this next team fight. He's so incredibly tanky, and with no heal cut on the side of NIP other than that Ignite. Is he going to die?
FoFo's here, everything misses. Photic flashing out. The Varus ult and the cannons from the top lane as Jiejie goes down. Big pickup for NIP as Power tries to join the play as well. I don't think they can quite close the gap. FoFo wants to turn it around. The cocoon will push him away. Xiaolongbao, nice little dodge on the shock blast.
I think Jiejie played it a little bit too impatiently. He just instantly went in and threw the ultimate, unfortunately missed. And the GBL just came and showered the entire of EDG, where I believe it just became kind of a 4v5, and NIP finds a way back into this game. Still, I feel like this Kaisa is going to be a huge problem. I want EDG to look for these picks, and once these picks do go offline...
Oh, it lands in the mid lane! It's an all-in opportunity for FoFo. One more hit, but Pout in the shroud, he walks away!
He walks away with 1 HP. I mean, that does mean the Herald is going to be dropped for FoFo, and he's going to collect so much gold. TP not available for Pout, so it's only going to be Xiaolongbao trying to protect this mid lane tower. Not going to fall because it was full health, but FoFo going to pick up so much gold and getting that mythic spike just way earlier compared to Pout.
Yeah. Huge swing there with 3 plates going down in favor of FoFo. Certainly going to be a massive influx of gold. Feels like there's a gold advantage in the mid lane for EDG. There's a gold advantage in the jungle. Potentially, that said, Xiaolongbao has got a couple of kills more recently. And then Leave obviously ahead in that bottom side. Things looking good for EDG right now, but a much closer game than what we've seen for the rest of the series.
Look at the gold lead that Ala has already generated from just being in an isolated matchup. 33 CS lead, and he is just going to continuously scale. Although the GP is going to scale relatively well up against Kennen, I just feel like when it does come to the team fight aspect, once Ala has that flash available...
Oh no! Meiko had flash. Perhaps misunderstanding the situation there. Thinking that he had much more freedom in the enemy jungle than he had. Just gets one shot. Unfortunately, that's 2 kills now that Zhuo has picked up on the Heimerdinger. I'm not sure that's necessarily the champion that you want this goal going to.
Yeah, you definitely want to own the Elise, but with that frame in bot lane where the Kaisa just chucked out a W, Photic was scared for his dear life because he would have just been one shot in that bottom lane as the Kaisa already has the Gale Force available. 14-minute first dragon though, and it does go to the side of EDG. NIP isn't picking up any early objectives, and I'm afraid once you just snowball into, once you play into the hands of EDG, you're not going to find an angle to come back into the game.
And it feels like they're just struggling to find any presence towards that dragon as well. Like when you look at the vision difference in the bottom side of that river, EDG have it completely covered in wards, whereas NIP barely getting a defensive line in. Is Zhuo just now desperately trying to remedy that fact and recover some control of their own jungle. Meiko moving towards the mid lane. Ashe is available.
I mean, when it does come to the vision control, like we can see for NIP, they don't have a frontline or traditional frontline at least that will be able to just walk in and face tank everything that's chucked at them, especially with the Ashe having the Umbral Glaive available. Then it's just going to be such a tough time for little Zhuo to find his little vision in these major objectives.
Well, Xiaolongbao trying to trade with Jiejie, but the ward does get removed in the end. NIP moving up this time. They want to fight for this Herald, but this could be the moment that Allah has been looking for. He's on that Kennen. A 5v5 would suit him down to the ground. NIP posturing for a poke war at this point. Allah found by Invincible. Takes a huge chunk of damage, actually. 1v1 between the top laners is Herald. Still being focused by EDG. This might just get taken down with no actual fight happening.
You just don't have a proper engage other than this Varus ultimate. And oh my god, is Zhuo gonna die? He could have died right there. I saw his flash, I saw his like life flash in front of my eyes. But yeah, NIP's composition throwing it back, they just don't have a proper engage where Varus realistically should be used as a secondary engage.
Well, Varus goes wide, Ashe goes wide, everyone walks away in the mid lane as NIP want to find something. I think FoFo knows something is up here. He suspects at very least. As Invincible now shows, trying to bait FoFo into the 1v1, but he is not going for it right now.
Playing very, very safe, and exactly you want to play this safe because you already have that early game lead, and you're just going to get stronger as the game goes on because you have the engage tools from the Sejuani and Ashe and Kennen when he does have that flash available. These teamfights are going to be extremely easy to force, and if NIP opts into a bad teamfight, I'm afraid from just one, they're going to bleed immensely.
Yeah, it's going to be brutal, but if they can find that fight, if they can find themselves a skirmish win, that could snowball like crazy. This is a very volatile composition where you fall behind, yeah, it's pretty disastrous. But if you can find yourself ahead, that certainly could lead to a victory. It's just whether or not that can happen. I feel like we are running out of time for that to happen for NIP. The Night Harvester finished here on the side of Xiaolongbao, so he certainly has a lot of burst.
Look, we may have had absolute chaos in the first 5 minutes for the bot lane duo matchup, but there are 3 people in this current game having a 0-0-0 scoreline. And the Akali, obviously she's getting beat in that CS department, so I'm afraid if Pal doesn't start being proactive and look for those picks onto the carries, then you're not going to find those angles up against Sejuani, which we saw in game 1.
Yeah. And it gives you an idea of how well Allah did during that laning phase. That Invincible has 2 assists, whereas Allah 0-0-0, but he has a bouncy leave. Actually finds Photic. I can't believe he gets a pick there. And now Xiaolongbao left to run, skitter back into his own jungle. The Herald slammed down in the mid lane. This is going to be at least a tier 1, but they might honestly look for more. Jiejie pressing forwards, Meiko and Leave alongside him. They certainly have the damage, but with the Gangplank ult, they will back away.
Even Allah is forcing this bot lane pressure, trying to take down the outer towers of NIP, but once again, Photic having such a hard game, especially when the Kaisa picked up first blood in that 1-for-1 trade.
Pao does get stunned as he starts this one off. Allah the target, perfect execution. Pao trying to dodge the stun himself, but just gets almost one shot there, and FoFo flashed away from, but still finishes the kill. Pao goes down, and the EDG solo laners outplay.
The EDG and the mid laners finally get a KP into this game. 18 minutes. Photic is dead.
Wow,
and
it's
that's
not
the
even
life
close.
of an ADC.
Oh! He flashes over the wall. Actually manages to survive that one. I was worried there for a second. No! This game is not good for my heart rate.
Well, this game is definitely not good for Photic either. He is absolutely having a horrible game, and it is a horror game for him. Leave is just going to pop up out of nowhere with the Collector in hand. I'm surprised Collector didn't actually proc when Varus was a slither of HP. Photic did dodge the Ashe here, which was a really nice sidestep coming out of NIP's ADC, but Gale forced into a Q, and he's dead. This Kaisa's too strong.
Yeah, that ISO Q. Meiko flashing away, keep himself alive as EDG grab themselves a second Drake. And it does feel like this lead is slowly but surely tilting further in favor of EDG. 4,000 gold now, 2 Drakes to talk about. And now no more Heralds will be spawning as Baron is going to grace the Rift in just 10 seconds time. And I'm not sure NIP can actually 5v5 at this point to contest it.
I mean, you can sniff some hard copium as NIP fans because you still have that late game scaling Gangplank on the side of your team collecting, or I mean, he does have Collector as second item, but up against the Sejuani and Kaisa, I just feel like he's too squishy and he won't be able to toss out too much damage before he gets one shot by the side of EDG.
I'm just loving watching Leave today. Like, obviously looking good on the Zeri, but now bringing out a Kaisa. We do not see Kaisa much in the LPL. Not recently, at very least, not in this meta. But bringing it out confidently against this Varus, consistently landing those Ws, following up with the ultimates, finding solo kills, finding picks. It's beautiful to see. An Invincible caught out in the top side. The flash forwards to get the stun there. The chain in play. FoFo with a kill. NIP wanting to punish, but Meiko wasn't quite in the brush yet, so Charlotte Bow wired on the cocoon. And it will just be the wave cleared. And again, EDG gets something for nothing.
EDG is starting to focus down the late game carry of NIP while Ala is just having a free time taking down these towers. I feel like just NIP don't have an answer for these side lane pushes anymore. And they don't even win 5v5 because your Akali is so behind your Varus. He's a poke Varus with the Yomus on his item slots, but he's not going to be tossing out too much damage compared to a Kaisa with 2 items and a third coming very soon.
Yeah, he's not really going to be able to match that. I mean, look at the Mirror Mana right now. 162. The Mana Moon? I forget which one's which. I think it's Mana Moon currently. 162, a long time until that's going to be stacked up. Photic doesn't feel like he's able to get much done in the short term here. NIP.
I'm going to try and look for a pick.
This is cheeky. Ala could be the target.
Ala smells them.
Oh no, the arrow comes in. Here comes Jiejie over the wall as well. FoFo, bit of damage on Zhuo as they try and turn it around. This is a wonky fight. Oh, he goes in. How does he get a kill there? Goes in 1v4 and somehow manages to find one. Invincible TPs into the play here, but EDG have already won.
I literally coughed when I saw Leave go in. It gave me so much stress. He just ulted into 4 people, and he is not scared. NIP being surrounded.
They're being pushed into a corner, and a Kennen ult. They get 1 kill onto Jiejie, but it just does not matter. EDG now to the Baron as they take over the game.
This game is looking like another early win for the side of EDG. I don't see an angle where NIP can really come back into the game. Your ADC is 1 in 5. Your Heimerdinger has the most kills on the team, and the Akali isn't able to find those angles. It's just the result of how the early game went for this bot lane duo.
Yeah, absolute
We're gonna look
domination.
At the replay. And Leave just absolute giga chat. He's very late to the fight, but once he does get to the fight, he just chucks the W and he flies into 4 people, presses 1 Q, and they're all 1 HP. The Varus ult does do a lot here, but not enough to stop Leave from ulting in and just chucking a Q, one-shotting Zhuo. Does dodge the first Akali ult as well, and they just get surrounded like sharks, and NIP don't have a way out.
I love this, the way that Abel and Leave come down to the bottom side, force it into this really awkward corner for NIP and just collapse from all directions. Beautiful stuff. And it feels like NIP might just be out of this one. Leave is feeling it today. I mean, I don't blame him. 6-1 and 1 on the Kaisa. Phenomenal performance today. And showing why he was a hyped up AD carry coming out from the LDL. Why he was picked up by EDG. Remember, this is the guy replacing Viper. That's big shoes to fill, and he is filling destroying them right now. Another pick on Xiaolongbao.
One pick is going to mean so much for EDG. They're just going to be able to take down these inhibitors, especially when NIP, once again, they don't have the ability to engage first, especially when the Varus is scared for his dear life of a Kennen and Sejuani, or even Kaisa potentially ulting onto his head. He needs to use that ultimate as self-defense, or if not, he's just going to get ram-ranched.
Yeah, it certainly would be a tough one. As EDG move into the mid lane here with the Baron. I don't even know if NIP could just hold on to their base here. Looks like EDG will play respectfully, moving over towards the Drake. Instead, arrow goes ever so slightly too wide. And it will mean that the players survive. But NIP now trying to move back in, trying to contest in any way whatsoever.
Oh my God.
But it's just not possible.
1 Q and Zhuo's half HP. I don't know how NIP comes back into this game. Very, very unfortunate early game, especially for Photic. Of course, Kaisa picked up the first blood. Varus only got an assist while the kill went to Heimerdinger. And that's just what it snowballed into.
And it's good to see EDG actually being consistent throughout a series, right? Obviously, game number 1 looking really good for NIP, but it was a bit of a, okay, we lost the early game, it got out of control, go next angle, right? Then the next 2 games in this series, EDG managing to find their footing and turn things around. They know something's going on in this top side. 3 people in a brush. FoFo moves nearby, but the recalls will be committed to. EDG continue their siege. But I want to mention a little tidbit for everyone that, you know, I talked earlier about FoFo not managing to make it back to Worlds since he joined the LPL. One of the players that actually denied him Worlds back in 2021 was Ala, who was on that LNG team that made it to Worlds from the regional championship that FoFo would have needed to make it to Worlds from. So now teammates, once very much enemies.
Yeah, the ultimate does land, and Elise just gets instantly one-shot. Honestly, NIP, if they don't start just YOLO going for these fights, they're just going to suffocate from the inhibitors falling down.
3-man shock blast there doing insane damage. As like you say, the inhibitors fall 1 by 1. And EDG, they can just sit here now, wait for the supers to come down the mid lane and finish the job. NIP 4v5 on the defense, trying to hold on. The conversation of scaling is out of the window at this point for the Gangplank. Time is up. Invincible there. Pow trying to go in on to leave, but he's out of there, and Ala one-shots the entire team. Even gets the bonus kill at the end before going down. Quadra kill for Ala, and leave. Looking for a bonus on Xiaolongbao as the Nexus falls. And EDG just give us a masterclass.
20-7 scoreline. EDG just wrapped the game perfectly with this game 3 and leave honestly 8 and left no crumbs for Photic to come back into the game. So leave having 2 exceptionally well performances on the Zeri and on this Kaisa. Very big expectations for someone who was just promoted from the LDL.
Yeah, really tough one for NIP, but like you say, leave having a phenomenal game for himself, having a phenomenal series for himself, honestly. Able to really show what he's capable of, bringing out this Kaisa pick and showing that this is not a pick that he's nervous about. This is a confidence pick for leave. Next time you're looking at an EDG champ select and you see Kaisa, get ready